Welcome back, everyone. This is Seth Disposa, Black Earth Productions, Blue Flame, Healing Arts, the Occult Science Temple of the White Dragon, here on another segment. To bring things forward in the network, I've invited Mark Passio on again. Things that were mentioned before we got started, the illegitimacy of authority. And when it comes to the actual definition of authority, the power or right to give orders and make decisions to enforce obedience is the definition of authority. A person or organization having quote-unquote power to control typically the geopolitical sphere and the political sphere in general. There's federal government and then you have state government. Mark, welcome back to Black Earth Productions. You got the floor, man.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me back. A pleasure to be here today. I think that's a good definition that was given there. It says what it actually is. Someone coercively forcing someone's obedience to their will decide the direction of action. That is coercion. If you look up the definition of coercion, it should perfectly synchronize with that definition of authority, because that is exactly what coercion is. And people scream and complain and whine about having choice taken away from them. They want consent, and that completely disappears when it comes to the idea of government. And then they have some magical right to command, as that definition would imply. It's the implied right to command others and force their obedience through coercion to the will of the one who's giving the commands, who's giving the orders. Now, if you compare and contrast the definition that you just gave for authority with the definition for coercion, they would essentially be the same. And I would go further than that. Those definitions are the same definition what slavery is. I hear this all the time, alleged truth-seeking and alleged truth-telling in the libertarian circles, etc. You hear people saying it's too far to say that authority and slavery completely coincide and mean the same thing. Ladies and gentlemen, no, it is not too far. Just because someone is not physically chaining and shackling another human being and beating them into submission physically does not mean that you do not have the implied threat when it comes to authority and coercion. The slave on a plantation did not need to be physically beaten every hour of every day, or even every day of every week. The slave had to understand that there was the implication if their actions did not comply with the commands of the owner of the plantation. That's all government is. The implied threat of violence, called duress. D-U-R-E-S-S, the state of duress, an incredibly important concept to fully integrate and understand in your vocabulary and in your makeup is duress. Duress means violence does not have to be taking place in the immediate moment. Violence is completely implied, and it is known on all sides that violence will occur and will take place if the threat of coercion and the command that is forcing obedience is saying you comply. Your behavior must comply to this command. That is the coercion backed up by duress, the implied threat of violence that will occur if there is nonconformity to the command. There is no better definition of slavery as far as I'm concerned. Slavery does not have to be physical ball and chain slavery.
It's consented in terms of the definition of what the fuck government actually is. To govern the ment, which means mind.
Right.
What I witness, even in terms of people that claim to be in alignment with truth or part of this fucking movement, they don't recognize what you're saying in terms of what's happening on an unconscious level. They want a virtue signal. They want to act as if they're a part of what perpetuates true freedom, but they can't even see the fucking duress that they're under, which further, psychologically speaking, is driving them further and further into fucking slavery, yet they call it freedom.
Exactly.
It's absolutely fucking crazy, man. Right.
Yeah.
Stockholm syndrome.
The fact that we're in the year 2022 and anybody needs to even explain to anybody else that coercing other people's behavior is immoral. It's the epitome of embarrassment The people who don't yet understand that forcing someone's compliance is slavery and it is completely immoral.
Whereas everything in alignment is on a voluntary basis, knowing the fucking difference in terms of what you're doing at any given time.
That's what consent means. There isn't any implied threat of violence. It means you're doing something of your own free will.
So,
And
okay, what's the actual mind control tactic that manufacture consent? What is the actual tactic?
There's a number of mental manipulation tactics. I've covered them pretty extensive on my podcast series. One is obviously control of the media, because if you get to control what people see and hear and read constantly, then you're constantly able to reinforce these concepts and ideas in their mind. Direct control of the media means largely direct control of public opinion and the narratives that are being put out. Also, controlling the educational system. If you control the education system, if you control the media, and if you control general cultural norms, ideas that are sent out culturally, you have somebody's mind from the time that they're born all the way up through adulthood. It's very difficult for the average person, because of peer pressure and continual societal reinforcement, to break out of that mental prison. As you stated, the word government literally means control of the mind. That's why there's only one legitimate form of government that is morally legitimate, is self-government, is control over one's own mind, not implying any external coercion or control over the mind. And debated part of that etymology reinforce that it does indeed mean control of the mind. People will debate this. They'll go to their graves fighting, kicking, and screaming, saying it doesn't mean this. Yes, it actually completely, truthfully, and factually does mean control of the mind if you understand the etymology of the word. The word gubernare in Latin, where we get the word gubernatorial from, because there's no V in classical Latin. There is the B sound taking the place of the V sound in English. You have the word gubernare, the verb meaning to control. This isn't the contested part of the etymology of the word government. The contested part is always the suffix ment, M-E-N-T, meaning the state of or the condition of being governed. Why would they choose the word mens mentis, the state of, the condition of? They literally chose the Latin word mind, because people in the very ancient world formulating language chose the term mind to represent the state of or condition of. They knew, our ancient ancestors knew, the Hermetic principles. Right. The first principle of occultism is the law of mentation, mentalism. It means that everything that is a resultant state of existence must be preceded first in thought. It must come from the mind. This is the first principle. The principle of mentalism. Everything extends and grows and comes from thoughts. The universe is a construct of mind, and so is all of our states of existence that we bring forward into existence. For there to be a state of being governed, there must be a mind to be governed. Can be no other way. The condition cannot exist without the mind first preceding it. If people do not understand that, they do not understand occultic law. They do not understand the laws that are hidden from us to understand how our reality is actually structured and actually works. So when we put those two roots together, gubernare, mens mentis, absolutely means control of the mind, because without the control of the mind, there cannot be any externally imposed state of being governed. Right. The nuance, the context of that etymological breakdown, honestly, I feel sorry for them.
Literally, it's fucking pathetic, man.
They literally do not have a basic understanding of how language is originally structured and what the origins of the meanings of our words are and where they come from. And that's sad, because that means you people who don't really get that and delve deeply into that had poor educational upbringings. I'm going to lay into some people are doing a very poor job in their understanding of things. And how unbelievably pathetic is it that in the year 2022, any human being needs to be speaking to any other human being about the moral illegitimacy of authority. It is based in violence. It is based in coercion. It is based in duress. All of those things are wrongdoings. It is morally illegitimate to act that way. How absolutely completely pathetic is it that that even needs to be spoken and isn't understood in a worldwide massive way in the times we are living in? The people who still believe in authority are such unbelievable losers in mind. They're naive, loser children. They're weaklings, absolute naive, pathetic weaklings. Believing that someone else has the right to control and command you, you are a weak, naive, pathetic, loser weakling. I explained philosophically and morally why authority is completely morally illegitimate. If you don't get it, that makes you dumb. That makes you stupid. That makes you a weakling. That makes you pathetic. That makes you not have any self-respect. You want to be a slave. You want slavery. How much of a loser does one have to be? How much of a pathetic, self-hating loser does someone have to be to actually want their own enslavement? And they're too stupid to even recognize that the claim of authority over them is enslavement. Right. It's absolutely fucking pathetic.
What I've observed throughout my quest here is the fact that people have not been taught how to think. They've been taught what to think, what to like, what to believe, what to hate, what to fucking fear. The blast on in terms of the media sphere. This is why you and I do the things that we do to present the knowledge and wisdom that we do for those to whom it's meant, for those that can catch it and actually fucking have a fucking brain within their tiny little molecule that's going to be able to perceive this shit. Be some kind of fucking reform, get in there and reform the fucking system. No, it's fucking broken. It was invented to break your fucking mind, get you fuel lined into these grid works of consciousness where you can't even see your own power as a being here on Earth, knowing the fucking difference, knowing how cosmic law actually operates, and everything we do in practice goes back to the first cosmic law. If you can't master the first cosmic law, how the fuck do you think you're going to be able to master anything in terms of existence? Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, let alone temporally speaking, and gaining leverage and using their goddamn fucking system against them. Look at all the shit that they use against us. Cosmic law, the arts, all of these different things, man. How the fuck are we going to gain any sort of fucking leverage otherwise within their fucking empire unless we flip the goddamn fucking script? What do you say, man?
Very well said. We have to understand how to reach out to others. If you don't understand how to get the message out in a very large way over the internet, you're not doing what you're here to do. You're not accomplishing the mission that we really came here for, which is to free this species from the bondage of slavery, covert occultic slavery. This goes to the manipulation methods bombarded by the school system, being told what to think instead of to learn how to think. One of the occult initiation dictums is learn how to think. The first one is stop lying to yourself. That goes hand in hand with the law of mentalism. You have to learn the truth, so you can't lie to yourself. You have to have self-respect enough to say A is A. It is objective. This is how it actually is. Most people won't do that. They give themselves euphemisms like government instead of calling it what it is, human slavery. The schooling system and the media taught us to accept these euphemisms.
Well, it's because we don't know fucking schools. It was the parents that were fucking brainwashed.
They went through all the same methods of manipulation, and then they just repeat it down to the next generations that come after them. Right. The initiation dictums to go through true occult initiation: stop lying, stop dreaming, learn how to think, be in the present moment, and activate the physical body. Going to need it. Learn how to think is sandwiched right in the middle of the 5 steps of initiation. The trivium and quadrivium process has been removed from public education. The rulers of our society long, long ago in the ancient world recognized you cannot teach slaves true methods of discovery of truth. You have to give them an alternative that says you do it this way and you just repeat what you're told. You spit back the answers on a test. You get a paper that says you have a degree, that says you're qualified to go into this field and teach or whatever and have tenure. And it doesn't really mean that you know how to think. It means you've jumped through all the hoops in their system to be able to be accredited in their operating space and then just repeat what you've been told. That's all it means. That's all education means in the modern world. It's not true education. If it were true education, it would have included the trivium method. It would have included the quadrivium. It would have included the ancient arts education method. We would have learned that. Certainly occulted teaching, we'd all have it under our belts. And in so having that methodology of grammar, logic, rhetoric, if we have that in hand collectively, we can't be fooled as a species. This is how you determine whether something is true or not. Again, it's the process of learning how to determine whether it's actually true or false.
And this is fucking question and think for yourself and not allow yourself to just fucking pulled into whatever fucking direction, especially all this stuff in the New Age movement that everybody fucking bought hook, line, and fucking sinker because they want to escape reality. And it's no different than fucking religion. Everybody out there is responsible for their condition, as above, so below. And taking it back to the first cosmic law, if you cannot master the first cosmic law, what makes you think you're going to have the proper fucking foundation in terms of building anything legitimate in this fucking existence that's going to put you in a position across these thresholds that we're meant to be crossing as individuals, in terms of network, as mankind, the alignment of your actual fucking destiny, and knowing the proper knowledge and wisdom necessary in order to forge the path without getting caught in all these net traps and snares and all these fucking distortions, and then people think that they're fucking ascending, or they think that something's going to come fucking do it for them. You can't even control the way you fucking think.
Right. Not understanding the real laws of manifestation and then going on in this dreaming process of being told that everything's just going to work out. They don't even understand that manifestation is a function of collective human will. Just such a profound idea in itself that is not really considered, especially in alternative religions, New Age circles with Q, the QAnon, PSYOP, etc. This external savior, these white hats are going to come save us. It's all externalization of power.
That's Saruman.
Right, exactly. No externalized power is the answer. The answer is power. Internalize, use it, put it into action the right moral way, and then we'll see correct manifested results. It's all about the trivium, even in the laws of attraction and manifestation. I covered this extensively in earlier What on Earth is Happening podcast. It's a good idea to review it. You have the two polarities that we create with love and fear. It's either higher consciousness, agape, which is the love of truth, cosmic love. It is the love of justice. It is the love of wisdom, and then choosing that in every moment. That is true agape. And the other is fear that fights against that. Fear breaks that down. Fear balls consciousness up, crushes it, holds it there, holds it in place, pushes it down, makes it stay there so that there's no growth, there's no learning, there's no evolution in consciousness. The adversary, the opposer, the Satan force in ancient Hebrew, the force of fear at work in the world. If you're in fear, you can't aspire to any higher consciousness. You can't truly learn how to think. You're always reacting in a fear-based mind.
So that which opposes proper knowledge and wisdom that's in alignment with truth.
Absolutely. That's a great definition of it. Absolutely. It opposes that which is in alignment with truth. It gets you to go off on a completely separate path so you're not aligned within yourself. Thoughts, emotions, and actions are not unified and on one accord. They're not congruent with each other. True unity-based consciousness. So those are the polarities, but then in the middle, the outcome is going to be order or chaos. That's all we're ever creating. Order, what we say we want, which is the optimized conditions for our prosperity collectively as a species. The opposite of that is chaos and disorder. Everything is broken down. Nothing works right. It's chaos. That's ultimately hell.
Right.
Okay.
It's fucking entropy. It's stagnation. It's chaos versus catharsis.
Right.
And I do not think at this point, if you have not gone through that process of cathartic burning through this shit, what I witness and what I continue to fucking witness is people still buy the fucking lie. They buy the narrative, afraid to actually face the goddamn truth that they are
That's right.
responsible for their condition. And they want to blame the government. They want to blame the fucking demon.
Right.
They don't realize, psychologically speaking, philosophically speaking, that you have an inner tyrant that is raking out your fucking soul. What do you say to that?
It's all ultimately our own personal responsibility. And what is collectively going on in the minds of the aggregate body of humanity will collectively manifest on the stage that we call the Earth. The universe is mirroring back to us what we are largely made of. That's the good news, actually, because then it can be changed.
You're talking about the aggregate.
The aggregate, not as just one individual. The sad part is individuals who have woken up to the true nature of themselves and reality are still stuck in the aggregate consciousness. There's only one aggregate manifestation on Earth. Obviously, everybody has their own unique life experiences, but we are all going to experience what the totality of the body of humanity is going to experience. Right. It's not separate realities and bifurcations of realities. We are all here physically in this plane of existence.
Going to some kind of fucking bubble, and what's not happening in terms of the aggregate is going to have any sort of an effect on your life, your existence, even your fucking psyche, on an unconscious, subconscious level, because we're all picking up on this shit in terms of the wiring and the fucking attacks that are happening, nerve induction, and all the different methods of dark sorcery I've explained in terms of the mystery school. People still can't see fucking clear the fact that they are not in control of their thought and emotion. When thought betrays wisdom and proper knowledge, take it back to Thoth. This is what Thoth represents, the office of Tahuti. It's the office of initiation, which is your fucking thought.
That's right.
In alignment with proper knowledge and wisdom. Otherwise, you're fucked.
It's no coincidence that he is named that as a god. This is our inner aspect of being able to consciously recognize truth from fantasy. And that's the problem. The bulk of humanity, well over 90% of humanity, is not at a place in consciousness, in the evolution of consciousness, where they can discern truth from fiction, reality from fantasy. These states of manifestation, the polarities we work with, love and fear, we have states of manifestation, order and chaos. In the occult, these states are referred to as evolution, involution, the evolutionary force and the involutionary force. Those are love and fear, the states that are created, that are manifested as a result of the usage of those polarities, order or chaos. The trivium is what gets us there. Knowledge, understanding, and wisdom, right? So what knowledge are we talking about? We're talking about learning the truth.
What specific knowledge are we talking about?
Correct.
Right.
We're talking about learning truth, morality. And either we have truth in hand of objective morality and the illegitimacy of coercion, duress, authority, government, etc., refuse that knowledge and we remain in ignorance. So there's either knowledge of morality or ignorance of morality is the first step of the trivium.
Look at the psychological damage and violence that people enact upon themselves on an unconscious level, psychologically, in terms of action, project that out into the fucking world.
That's right.
That is the method that is being used against your fucking asses, and you can't even fucking see it, that you've been conditioned to be your own worst fucking enemy, and then you want something else to fucking blame for your condition.
That's right. That's exactly it. And until people take that responsibility upon their shoulders, squarely in their mind and hearts, don't expect that to change externally in the world.
And don't expect for you to connect on a legitimate level, proper knowledge and wisdom and alignment in terms of your life to get leverage necessary to overcome these fucking challenges and pull it together collectively. This should be common fucking sense
by now.
Knowledge.
Absolutely.
Man. There is a restless power that is rumbling underneath the collective unconscious gridworks right now as we speak. And in terms of the divine masculine force, it's like I was saying before, become more fucking terrifying than them. What the fuck are we to fear if we are in alignment with truth, if we are in alignment with our force, if we are in alignment with our purpose, our actual fucking orlog, what the fuck do we have to fear?
There's no power that can stop it. There's no power on earth that can stop that based in true right action. Knowledge or ignorance. Knowledge of objective morality or ignorance of objective morality. What's that going to lead to in step 2 of the trivium? It's understanding. What do we understand as a result of having knowledge of objective morality in hand? You're moving toward either evolution or involution.
And here's why these things need to be gone over again and again and again. A true master is going to go over the fundamentals and principles, the basics daily.
That's right.
Because if you can't get the basics down, what makes you think you're going to be able to fucking hold weight up the fucking road when more is fucking manifesting?
Addition and subtraction. You're not getting in any advanced mathematics until you get basic arithmetic. The laws of manifestation, they're very important foundational principles. And if you don't understand those, you can't move on and build anything beyond it.
Fucking can't. Right.
So you either have understanding in hand or you have confusion. You need to own sovereignty, who we are, that we are sovereign beings, manifested physical experience in this plane of existence, sovereign entities. Okay. Sovereignty means you've come to a place of self-understanding and that there is no more contradiction in your thoughts, emotions, and actions. Confusion means you don't know who you are. You don't know who you are spiritually because with fear ended up with ignorance of who you are and you're totally confused now. Now you can be led by a charlatan who's making a claim over you and your soul that is completely illegitimate, that this person has no claim to. It's either understanding of your own sovereignty or lack of understanding and total confusion of who you really are.
What I observe happening in the world is a massive identity crisis happening in terms of the fucking aggregate. People don't know who the fuck they are. They don't know how reality fucking operates. They don't know cosmic law. They don't know the wiring of the mechanics. All of this spiritual escapist fucking bullshit. People still fucking co-sign. They want to negate the physical reality as if it's not a part of everything in terms of true spirituality. What I see happening also in terms of gender fluidity, violation of cosmic law in terms of how things actually fucking work, the utter fucking confusion of what the fuck is taking place in the world. Observe your own beingness in terms of physicality. What the fuck makes you think that you're fucking evolving otherwise in terms of what it means to be sovereign? What would you say actually constitutes true sovereignty in terms of what I'm getting at?
The first thing a sovereign would fully understand is that no one has a claim to their life, their rights, their property, or the fruits of their labor. Sovereignty means you're not a slave. It literally means not a slave, the word. This is why I always emphasize the true etymological meaning and definition of a word. Where did the word come from? There's a reason the word sovereignty is what it is. But how many people can break it down and really know where it comes from? So again, in the Latin, you don't have V. The V sound in the classical Latin isn't there. So you have super, S-U-P-E-R, or rendered S-O-P-E-R, super. It means above, where S-O-V-E-R in sovereignty literally means above, that you're not controlled by this. You are above it. You are not under it. It is not on top of you in that sense. The second part of the word is reign, R-E-I-G-N, sovereign. It comes from the Latin word regnum. Regnum in turn comes from rex, meaning king. Rex is king. Regnum is rulership of some authority force. Super regnum, above rulership, meaning that there is no rulership above the being, that the being itself is above externally imposed rulership. That literally means you're not a subject of an authority. You're not a slave. The word sovereign literally means, from its etymology, not a slave. Think about how powerful that in and of itself means. And if you go on a street corner and you ask people to give the true definition of the word sovereign, 99.95% of them are not going to be able to correctly do it. They're not going to be able to tell you that the word sovereign means one is literally above rulership and is not a slave or a subject of another.
What blows my fucking mind is people that claim truth, that claim alignments, that claim positions of influence to even be at that place of teaching what the fuck truth actually is, still hail governments and authorities not knowing the basis of foundation in terms of initiation into the occult.
Imagine
they
that.
know what the fuck is going on.
We have false teachers.
No, man. It's
everywhere.
It's just crazy, right? And more people are coming the fuck out. You and I have been doing this for a long fucking time. It's really
and calling
wild.
those people
coming out, positioning themselves with extreme lack of accountability. Who the fuck were your mentors? Who do you hold yourself accountable to in terms of anything? We got to call this shit the fuck up. So much of this is fucking happening when people pretend to be your fucking friends, but they're not actually legitimately fucking doing anything to course correct expose evil for what the fuck it is, and then people want to bypass that. At this point, I'm done with hypocrisy. This is what it means to know the truth. You're not going to get it like this anywhere else in terms of our network. And we're still just getting started in the earth in terms of what is meant to come. I'm going to pull this segment into a break. This is Septic Esposa, Black Earth Productions, Blue Flame Healing Arts, and Occult Science, Temple of the White Dragon, here with Mark Passio via What on Earth is Happening? Is the question. What the fuck is happening within yourself? We'll be right back. And we are back. This is Septic Esposa, Black Earth Productions, Blue Flame, Healing Arts, and Occult Science. Temple of the White Dragon. Here with Mark Passio via What on Earth is Happening in terms of expansion with the One Great Work Network. Now to continue. How the fuck are we going to get it together in network? How are we going to come together as a community if we don't know who the fuck we are? If we can't even control our thoughts and emotions and come into a place of no mind where we are fucking clear, our energy fields are clear, we know what the fuck is up, how the fuck is it going to happen? Otherwise, it's not. We should have already been past this fucking shit, man.
Long ago. The fact that it's progressing this slowly is unacceptable.
Where do you actually fucking draw the line with people? They'd even assume truth. Where do you draw the line?
After at least a few years, which is ultra generous, this person is willfully choosing not to see this and not associate anymore. And I've pulled back association with many, many, many people in that regard. Look, I can't even hang around with you anymore. I can't associate with you anymore. And that's it. I've seen people's significant others. They're so fearful and they want to stay where they're at. They've given their other in the relationship an ultimatum. And they've basically said, stop hanging around that community or our relationship is over. I've literally seen that happen. And the person has chosen the relationship never to be seen from again, never to be heard from again in this whole community of people. I've seen that occur.
And then rare. They go down a corridor of fucking hellfire and fucking brimstone and suffering.
All over a physical relationship with another person in the physical reality. Imagine that they're choosing a relationship that's not based in truth, that's not based in reality, that's not based in objective morality. The other person, they might have a connection to the truth, right? They might have a connection to source. And another person comes along, and this person is completely disconnected from truth and source. This person had a decent connection to it, and they're saying, I'd rather have this than have my connection to truth and source. I'll act like a repeller magnet to that other being. If there's no connection here on the part of this being, and they're coming in my direction, it'll repel strongest opposite pole magnet. The same pole magnet will repel. Forget there being any actual attraction there to forge a relationship. It will totally repel because the relationship isn't like this. It isn't this way. This isn't the relationship, folks. If you think the relationship is one-to-one like that, you don't understand what a genuine relationship is. If there's two people like this, the relationship is to truth and they're connected to higher consciousness first, then they can make the connection in the physical domain. Unless there's a connection to higher first, forget this earthly quote relationship working.
This is the reason why it doesn't come together and all the fucking issues and the problems
that's right
people deal with in the fucking world happen because you're not at that point of getting it together within yourself. You don't know who the fuck you are, and you think you know somebody else, or you think you're going to find yourself in a goddamn fucking relationship or group dynamic.
Right.
This is what happens in terms of subcultures, and this is why people jump from one modality to another, to this belief system, to that fucking belief system, or whatever the fuck, caught in this labyrinth of fucking lies and bullshit that is slowly devouring their life force energy. You only have so much fucking time to put into these fucking situations instead of pulling the fuck back, waking the fuck up, realize what the hell is going on, and make that connection to your fucking soul. That is the occult knowledge they don't want us to fucking get.
I want to address those group dynamics. It's very important, especially as people attempt to organize and create some type of organized resistance, because then I want to lead into people who believe that they're going to organize to run away. They're going to organize to escape, the whole escapism paradigm. You have knowledge of objective morality or ignorance. You have understanding of personal sovereignty or confusion over who you are. Finally, you have the realm of action, which ultimately brings the manifestation into existence. Right action is going to create freedom, whereas wrong action, because you're in fear, because you're in ignorance, because you're confused, conducting wrong action in that's going to create control externally over you, which is going to result in the state called slavery, disorder, and chaos. That's involution. We are talking about higher order cosmic law of creation. love truth, justice, that which is right and moral. You must love to such an extent that you will to perform right action. Then you have knowledge of objective morality. That's the first step of the trivium. Understanding of your own sovereignty. Because you have that knowledge of objective morality in hand, you develop the understanding of your own and everyone else's inherent sovereignty.
I got a question for you here.
Sure.
Why would you say people live in fear? Why? Fucking why?
They do not lead an examined truth. They don't know who they are. They don't know what their purpose is. They have no assuredness and true confidence. They have no true self-respect. It all starts with self-respect. If you don't have true self-respect, you're in a state of fear. You're going to fear everything coming at you. You're going to want to run away. This is ultimately where people are at. They have not healed past traumas. They have not done shadow work to heal traumas that they have undergone, ruled by those traumas. They still don't have manifested self-respect, and that will never manifest in true knowledge, especially not knowledge of who they are as sovereign entities. That's all going to manifest fear. But if we start with love, we have knowledge of objective morality, we have understanding of who we are, our own sovereignty. Our actions are going to be based, we're going to create freedom in the world, order. Start with fear, we're going to have ignorance. We're not going to know who we are. We're not going to know what's going on around us. There's no consciousness. Fear is the force that shuts that down. So we'll have ignorance. We'll have willful refusal of truth, especially about objective morality. That will internally manifest a state of total confusion, and we will not understand our inherent sovereignty. And then our behaviors will be acting non-alignment, wrong behaviors, creating our own state of control and slavery, which is total chaos. That's how the real laws of manifestation work. That's how natural law works, to bring us the consequential result within our consciousness through our behavior in life, and then we get the result. Laws of manifestation.
How would you say someone not knowing who the fuck they are puts them in a position to be in fear of who they truly fucking are otherwise?
That's a great question. Running away from who they could become. And I see this all the time, all the time.
Yeah.
They fear their own power. They don't want the responsibility that comes hand in hand with that power.
Yeah.
They'll literally stop themselves from moving forward and make up an excuse in their mind about how that's not meant for them. They don't need to do that, or they don't need to go there, or they don't need to grow in that way. That's not their role.
Or somebody else is going to do it. Someone else is going to take responsibility.
Always.
I need to fucking do myself in fucking alignment, call upon lesser entities or the fucking angels or some kind of fucking disincarnate entity that put themselves in the position of the true gods in terms of ancestors. You see, it's so fucked up what has happened. Manufactured consent for fear to slavery. You don't want to take responsibility to attain your true potential in terms of incarnation and ignite your eternal spirit, soul code, blood code essence, and do what you are here to do. It isn't just exposing evil, man. It's pulling our lives, our personal lives in alignment, mastery of all the different areas that I encourage everyone to be mastering, which is first your physical vessel, your mental and emotional capacities, your spiritual capacity, and then, of course, mastery of the temporal existence. We have to gain leverage in all fucking areas if we're going to be effective in the world to bring legitimate, proper knowledge and wisdom and change. That's and right. Our lives being evidence of that. My life is evidence of that. Your life is evidence of that. Those of us that are really fucking doing it, we brave the sea of fucking swords.
Sethicus, what you just said there is the initiatory process. That's what it is.
I know. This is what I
teach. That's it.
Right. At ground level, to lay the proper fucking foundation. And this is why, again, I encourage people to take initiation into the mystery school. I teach one-on-one with people. I teach how the ancients did. And it's so specific. It's so fucking utterly specific to the individual, their templating, who they are, the wiring of their fucking psyche. This is why people have a hard time seeing eye to eye, because the gauge of your perception could be a little bit different than mine, depending on the template, which goes to the second law of correspondence. This is how we learn how to master the second cosmic law, know how to get our fucking thought and emotion in alignment, the cosmology, dealing with shattered consciousness, planetary gates, the true guides, elemental consciousness, all of this like really cool fucking shit when it comes to magic, demonized by fucking religion, right? That is the method of initiation.
That's right. That has to always go to work on the potential student, the one who wants that information and knowledge and wants to come into a correct understanding. of occult information and knowledge, that has to be an internal process that they work within themselves. It can't really be done for them. It could show somebody the way, but they have to be working with their internal makeup. That's really what ultimately magic is about, is changing the internal makeup and not letting it just sit and stagnate and moving backwards evolutionarily. It's to evolve that internal makeup through directed willpower. That's magic. There's no better definition of magic. That's internal work. Then you could be an active influence upon others, even at a distance, when you learn technology. There's a reason this is called casting, right? Broadcasting. A broadcast means you're casting to many people vibratory energy. They're doing their form of dark broadcast.
It's a spell cast. Our words are spells, and people are cursing themselves every single day.
That's right.
The language they speak that they don't understand what the fuck they're even saying.
Telling themselves lies. That's a form of binding. That's why it's the first law of the initiation process. Stop lying to yourself. Casting a dark spell upon yourself through words that aren't true. Don't do an internal process of believing the world is some different way of thinking. Not true magic of internally changing the self, but magical thinking in the sense of cognitive dissonance, of believing that the world is some other way than it is.
The number one fucking factor in terms of everything we've gotten into so far is that people do not know how to navigate consciousness.
Absolutely.
They don't even know what the fuck consciousness is.
Right. They're a collection of algorithms, how that leads into negative group dynamics. Fear is holding people back in so many different ways. People who don't want to confront what needs to be confronted, both internally and externally. The development of internal courage to act through your will in the world. What dooms almost all group dynamics from their inception. When people want to enter some type of group dynamic, and I'm talking about involving 2 people or more, literally that small of a group. If there is not first unification on principles, if you don't have that as your foundation, any endeavor or project or long-term vision or goal that you plan on building in that group dynamic, if you're not on that same page about that first, is doomed to failure. It can never work out. There will always be a kink in the machine. There will always be some kind of a kink in the wheel that will make the wheels come off, whether it happens over a week's time, whether it happens over a decade's time. That group dynamic is breaking down because you don't have unification over the things that must be agreed upon. That immediately triggers things in people. And if you're saying we all have to agree, you don't all have to agree on method. You don't all have to agree on even your goal. You do have to agree on first principles. There's no room for not agreeing on principles. If you don't have that, you have fundamental axiomatic disconnect. And if there's fundamental axiomatic disconnect at the very base levels of your reasoning, you cannot work as a collective group. It's impossible. There will always be internal strife because no matter what your vision or project goal is, inside mentation, which is the first law of manifestation and creation, you are already divided on first principles. That's why objective morality has to come first.
And this is why a lot of the spiritual escapist routes that people are fucking taking, false ascension, timeline bullshit, thinking that it's better on the other fucking side. And we don't have an actual fucking code that we live by, especially in terms of network here on ground fucking level. What makes you think for a single fucking second that we are going to gain the leverage necessary, especially in terms of the One Great Work Network, if this does not fucking happen? In terms of what you were saying, what would you say that code is, Mark?
The true understanding of right behavior versus wrong behavior. That a right is an action that someone can take because it does not initiate harm to another sentient being. And that includes coercion, that includes duress, that includes violence, that includes making a claim on their being, making a claim on their rights, making a claim on the fruit of their labor, etc. This has to be common sense. Then we can come together and work out other things where we may even disagree and we could still get a long-term goal accomplished. But first principles has to come first. When you're forming group dynamics, it is important to do some vetting of people, grounds of first principles. Engage with groups largely as a social experiment. It's a social experiment to gauge where consciousness is at the collective or group dynamic level. And I do this deliberately. Go out, interact socially with people, talk with them.
Especially nowadays.
Look, I don't want to be the kind of person that is cut off in their own head, sitting in their own house, never interacting with people, never seeing where consciousness is at. That's a recipe for disaster. That's a recipe for things going off internally. You have to maintain some level of social interaction, even if it's uncomfortable for you. You got to get comfortable in that discomfort. I'm going to go out and interact with people who I may clearly know are at a lower level of consciousness than me and don't understand what I understand. I'm still going to keep it essentially cordial. I'm going to challenge them in what I say to them. We're going to possibly have challenging discussion back and forth, but that's what conversation is. It means to change together. Con means together, and versare, where the second part of the word conversation, versare in Latin means to change. The universe is the one change that is happening, the one thing that is changing, the universare, uni, one, versare, to change.
One thing that I mentioned in terms of group dynamics, when you're working to put a project together, you and I were in bands back in the day.
Sure.
The fucking shit, man. The stories that I think you and I could share in terms of dynamics of trying to put some shit together with a group of 5 coming at advantage, different points of view, different levels of fucking talent, different levels of intention. And it's the same thing all across the board in terms of any social dynamic. We all have our experience. We have our talents, we gifts, we have skills, we have our talents, we have our background, we got our templating. And instead of it being a place where we can come together to see the correlations and how all the puzzle pieces, they could be put together in a very powerful fucking way, everybody goes into competition mode and we're not seeing eye to eye because we don't know how things actually work. And we're not living by an actual fucking code of conduct. So that we can get past this petty fucking bullshit, stop bringing interpersonal fucking issues into the dynamic as an excuse to fucking project on a situation because you don't got your fucking shit together. You don't even know who the fuck you are among the tribe.
Right.
In ancient times, you would tell the people how you want it to be known. And a person that cannot do that does not know who the fuck they are.
Right.
It's all ass backwards as far as I'm concerned. A straw man, the name that we were given by our parents. I didn't choose that name.
Sure.
The name that I've chosen for myself is that code of my own soul expressing itself among the tribe. We're coming into the age of Aquarius. There's many people out there that are working to bring things together. You can count on it falling apart if you don't adhere what Mark just said. Eventually, it's fucking going to. Fallout after fallout with people because of this simple code people don't recognize. Again, they bring all of their interpersonal bullshit, even stuff to how they were raised and all this stupid shit. I don't give a fuck what happened to you when you were a child. Are we able to work together? Are we able to correspond and do some powerful shit? Or are you going to bring all your bullshit into the fucking equation as an excuse to fucking project, especially in terms of relationships and partnerships? Of course. This is why it's falling apart at the fucking goddamn seams. The relationship that people have with themselves is completely cut the fuck off from the higher force and the gates of true intelligence otherwise.
That's it. How difficult it is even to maintain a one-to-one relationship and have that be healthy and thrive and prosper.
You got to get it right in your own backyard first.
You know, that's just 2 people. Then imagine, like you said, a small group dynamic like a band. Think about all of the issues that go with that. I mean, that's why I was laughing while you're talking about, because I know exactly what you're talking about, you know? And then imagine just a group push forward some type of social change that's a small subset of society. Then imagine a whole society over general moral principles and a general code of conduct that is respectful, that is based in truth, that is based in reality, that has general self-respect and respect for others encoded into its fabric. If we can't agree on those first uniting principles, Every group dynamic that we forge is doomed to failure thereafter. Most important critical part of any group dynamic that has to be understood first and foremost. Then we could talk about certain types of groups and what they're doing and why they think doing certain things is a solution or is important. And really what they're really engaging in is yet another form of escapism. They believe they're going to be allowed to live that way and do those things in a state of slavery when they haven't dealt with the main issue of slavery first.
Right. I think that they're going to have an effect on the reality living in fucking goddamn fantasy land, and all this fucking bullshit still happening on ground level. Everything that manifests in terms of the physical reality all goes back to first a spiritual condition in context to the mental and emotional bodies.
That's right.
Fucking period. People that want to claim ascension and all this new age bullshit positions an individual fall into spiritual escapism and not take responsibility for their condition on ground level. You're not fucking spiritual.
It's a trap. It's a trap.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what they haven't seen. They're still not spiritually developed in a state of cosmic adulthood. There's still this childlike naivete in their internal makeup where they can't see that they're entering a trap, putting the cart before the horse. It's really that fundamental. You don't take steps out of order. If you believe it's, quote, spiritual, think about the insanity that would have to be inherent in that. You don't start building the elaborate parts at the top of the temple until the temple is built, standing on firm foundation, taking steps out of order. You can't take the trivium out of order. And people will very vigorously disagree and argue this point and say, we have to do it all simultaneously. We don't have to do it simultaneously. It's a stepwise progression where you literally have to stop doing the things that are toxic and poisonous first. Then you progress. If you don't get first principles, there's a reason it's called first principles. It has to come before everything else. Literally comes from the Latin principia. Principles comes from the Latin noun principia, which means the first things, the things which cannot be ignored to move on to other things. First things, arithmetic, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. If you don't get those foundational principles down first in arithmetic, you do not move to higher forms of mathematics. You have to get the basic principles under your belt as a foundation first. This is what I see group dynamics not doing, refusing to do. It's impossible to move on to anything larger until first principles are addressed and made the most important thing. We don't do anything else until this is addressed and agreed upon. That starts triggering people. That starts sounding to them like
it should fucking trigger them.
That's somewhat fascist, isn't it? You're saying people all have to agree. No, it's not fascist. It's called being correct morally. It's called having the truth under your belt and laying that as a foundation for everything you're going to build upon that first and foremost, and not taking any other steps first, not taking anything else out of order. They want to ride a race car before they ever learned how to ride a bicycle or walk.
Here's the fucking factor of the fucking enemy here in terms. They're organized to the fucking hill. How?
Absolutely.
The fuck are they gonna be fucking stopped? Period. They don't give a fuck what you think, what you fucking do, because the level of influence that they have with billions of fucking people. Just look what the fuck happened in 2020. You think that these motherfuckers are threatened of the potential that we would gain if at least 51% of the populace of the entire fucking human race would fucking catch it? But you can't even catch it in terms of sharing this with your neighbors, your parents, your family. And yeah, you're going to meet the contrast. You're going to meet the fucking triggers. That's the fucking war.
Right.
And if you can't step onto the front fucking lines, then get the fuck out of my temple, get the fuck out of fucking network, and go do something else, because we need people that are for fucking real. I'm for fucking real. I know Mark's for real.
It's there to divide people first before they can be united. It's to create that tension over the truth.
Psychological projection.
Right.
On an unconscious level of not taking responsibility for what it means to be fucking sovereign and be great in this fucking world.
And again,
being a fucking slave and a coward that lives in fucking fear and is just going to take fucking orders and take it up the fucking ass and call it freedom. Because
we know that manifestation is based on thought ultimately, right? That's where the responsibility comes in. You have to be responsible for everything you create by being responsible for everything that you think and accept into your mental makeup as a being.
I'm gonna pull this now into a break. This is Septic Disposa, Black Earth Productions, on with Mark Passio. Yeah, what on earth is happening? Transmission, the One Great Work Network. Pay attention. We'll be right back. Let's do it! To have the thickest skin and still walk so tall. For years and even now they pray to watch me fall. Their petty words and ways gave me the needed vision to ignite change and give strength to some who love their direction. Their breath is wasted, such a bitter pill to choke on. Their time is fleeting, passing, waiting for my swan song. Tearing me down will never raise you any higher. Criticize, condemn, complain. The mirror shows who takes the blame. The language you speak is dead, dishonored, disgraced. The language you speak is dead, damaged, buried. The language you speak is dead, indifferent, forgotten. The language you speak is dead. There's never been a war where only one son bled. Still dreaming demise and you'll see it, you'll see it. The lost prophesies, they believe it, goes deeper inside. If you let it, they'll speak of the end. And you'll get it, you'll get it. Tearing their wings will never raise you higher. You only damn yourself. You only damn yourself. Criticize, condemn, complain. The mirror shows who takes the blame. The language you speak is dead, dishonored, disgraced. The language you speak is dead, damaged, buried. The language you speak is dead, indifferent, forgotten. The language you speak is dead. There's never been a war where only one son bled. When you kill trust, there is no resurrection. Facing what consumes you is the only way to be free. Released from those poisonous fears, resurrected once and for all. You want me to hold my tongue? Then why the fuck am I here? You want me to bottle my rage? Cause you never had the heart to say what I say. My life, my body, my pride. You have no opinion, no right. I built myself nothing like you. My refusal is my way of life. Tell me, make me. You're the inspiration I need. Tell me, make me. You're all the inspiration I need. Tell me, make me.
What consumes you is the only way to be free. Though I'm still far from perfection, I stay relevant, I'm still vigilant. I have so much more to say, I have so much more to fight for. I use your lack of expectation as my awakening, it's my ability to live forever by my own command. To be free of me, remain confident. Tell me, make me. You're the inspiration I need. Tell me, make me. You're all the inspiration I need. Tell me, make me. You're the inspiration I need. Tell me, make me. You're all the inspiration that I need. Your doubt, it fuels me. Your hate, it drives me. Your doubt, it fuels me. Your hate, it drives me. The challenge ignites me. You make me fight harder. Your doubt, it fuels me. Your hate, it drives me. The challenge ignites me. You make me fight harder. You make me fight harder.
And we are back. This is Septic Disposal, Blackearth Productions, Blue Flame, Healing Arts, and Occult Science. Temple of the White Dragon. Here with Mark Passio, the Warden Earth is happening. Now to continue. It's the basis of foundation. I can't get that one right. What makes you think you're going to gain any sort of fucking momentum?
It's an axiom. Everything you build on the axiomatic principles that you lay down first is either going to be on solid foundation if the axiom is sound, or it's going to be upon a completely ruined, crumbling, uneven foundation that's not going to allow your structure to stand if the axiom is flawed. And that's the problem. Most people are building upon flawed axiomatic principle foundations. They don't have first principles in hand, and they're not laying them as the cornerstone of the foundation that they're building. What I want to address in this last part is, number one, that's not spiritual. As you said, that's false spirituality. To claim that that's spirituality is nonsense. First of all, first and foremost, if you're not united over first moral principles, what you're doing is not a spiritual practice, and it's not going to lead to spiritually aligned results. Let's get that straight and out of the way, number one. It's a childish, naive-like mindset. It applies to many, 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 many different groups. People who say that they're in the freedom movement, to so-called conservatives. You could apply this to so-called independents. You could apply this to so-called libertarians. There are some of the groups that I'm actually talking about. They don't have first moral principles laid, that authority itself is inherently illegitimate. How could you back any political party, any political force? There's no solution in that. And certainly, of course, it isn't spiritual.
It blows my mind that people that claim they know what the fuck is going on in terms of any office,
yes,
or position in the fucking world, that you support government. Fuck you. I don't give a fuck what your position is. You do not know how things actually work and how you are still a part of their fucking game.
That's right.
Their fucking goddamn meat grinder, and there's going to be some kind of fucking reform. You're fucking retarded.
They believe that they can take something that is evil and somehow make it work in their favor. Right. The reality does not work like that. That
blows my fucking mind, how people think that something that's malignant and designed to be malignant is going to have any sort of fucking redemption factor in terms of manifestation. It's fucking not.
That system must be destroyed. It cannot be progressed with. It cannot be somehow taken and morph into something else. Right. And I'm not saying it needs to be physically destroyed. You know where it needs to be destroyed? Right here. It needs to be destroyed at the level of mentation, at the level of first occultic laws and principles.
Take back the office of the governor within your own being.
That's it. That's
in alignment with the higher force in this code that we are mentioning here.
even if someone has that principle down internally, regardless of that dynamic, one of the other things that I continue to see, in addition to people not wanting to break down the old paradigms, they want to keep them intact and somehow reform or morph them into something that serves who they say they are and the results that they say that they want, which can never happen. In addition to that, the other dynamic that I constantly see is the dynamic of wanting to escape, wanting to not deal with the problem head on, not turn and confront the enemy, not turn and confront. They want to run away. They see the force that they're up against, right? And instead of saying, this is a Leviathan, people believe, number one, that they can run away. They actually believe there is anywhere to go.
They're chasing their fucking tail, man.
They need to watch 2 movies. The first movie I'd recommend is The Kite Runner. Your problems will follow you. Your traumas will follow you until you turn and confront them. You cannot run away. The answer is not ignoring the problem. The answer is confronting the problem through courage. You have to develop inward courage so that you can turn and confront the problem, the trauma, the attacker, whatever it is.
And you're going to feel that fear. You're going to feel
of course.
That fear. And this is getting into principles, first principles in terms of the art and science of the alchemical rites of initiation. You have to entrain yourself how to transmute and alchemize the frequency of fear into fucking courage. And I've stated
that's right.
That as far as I'm concerned, fear is not a human emotion. It's a spiritual force evoked upon us that manipulates the emotional capacity in terms of psychosomatics, and then pulls you into all of these fucking playouts within the fucking mind.
It binds us,
death,
yes.
Fear of not surviving, fear of non-existence,
right.
all this different shit, and you go into flight or fucking freeze.
That's right.
Instead of being a man of power that takes courage in the face of this fucking evil, at the very least, having a goddamn voice and doing something to be a fucking man in this world, because this shit's going down. Men need to wake the fuck up. The mind control tactics taking place to churn men effeminate, that shit is in our goddamn fucking faces. People are waking the fuck up to it.
I hope so. They're changing our genetic makeup.
Not fucking wild, man.
Yeah.
That this is actually happening where you don't know who you are to the point of gender. What the fuck? That's the very first fucking thing in terms of the vessel that you incarnated into.
It's part of the bio war waged against us as well. I mean, and we can get into
a topic of conversation.
Yeah. It's very important what you just said. Courage is not the absence of fear. No, right? The fear is there. Courage is developing the will to conduct right action in spite of fear. Allow the fear to come in and be within your consciousness and your internal makeup. You're going to say, this will not own and rule me. It may be an experience, but it will not dictate my behavior.
You know what's ironic, psychologically speaking? If there's any resistance to the fear that you were experiencing, I remember going down this corridor with my father, and I was always terrified. All the lights are off, the boiler room of the fucking facility. I'm like 3 or 4 years old, man. You know what I'm saying? He would just leave me in the middle of the dark. And I had to figure out, okay, how am I going to get across this way? And I can't even fucking see. I started to focus on that little red light at the end. If people just focus their intention in terms of what they are taking action upon, you're going to overcome anything.
That's true present moment awareness. That's part of the initiatory steps into the occult, is be in the present moment. Yeah, be fully present in the moment.
No matter what, right.
At all times. That is what helps you to overcome fear. Being truly, ultimately present in every moment. I would word the whole resistance factor as that which you ignore is going to keep rearing its head and coming back and coming back. You have to integrate that into yourself. You can't ignore trauma. You can't ignore your fears and even your own perceived inadequacies. You have to turn. You have to confront them with courage in spite of the fear being present and work through them. And that's shadow work. That is the process of continuously asking yourself, why is this fear present? Why is this psychological resistance present? Why is this ignorance present? What have I told myself? What lies have I told myself? What total bullshit have I told myself that I've accepted as being true when it is in fact not true and it does not serve? Okay. And we all have to do that work. It is a process of continual refinement. The groups that I want to talk about now are who I call the runaways. I may actually do an entire presentation called The Runaways. I'm going to call it that and have some subtitle for it. There's many different kinds of runaways. There's people who want to ignore the whole thing and just pretend it's not happening. And they're runaways in the mind. They're mental runaways. They're psychological runaways. There are people who want to just say, it's all going to work out. It's all going to be fine. I don't trouble myself with any of that stuff. I never think about it. And ultimately what that boils down to is they're leading a completely non-self-examined existence. That goes into total stagnation. That goes in involution. That goes in the opposite direction of evolution.
Eventually, a person like that is going to fucking implode, man.
They're going to be their own worst enemy. They're never going to properly navigate life. As you talked about the navigation of consciousness, that's not going to be present in a mindset like that because you're not even seeking out anything. There's no goal. It's wandering aimlessly through life. And there's no purpose in that. It's a purposeless existence instead of a purpose-driven existence, which is what we all need to find.
They've been conditioned to be nihilists in the face of fucking reality.
Right.
These people are absolutely fucked up. I've had conversations with fucking nihilists. They are some of the most fucked up, retarded motherfuckers I have ever had conversations with.
They're the dead. They're who the dark occultists call the dead.
How are you going to co-sign a bullshit philosophy like fucking nihilism?
Right.
What?
The controllers of our world call people like that literally. They call them the dead. That's their word for them.
It just blows my mind how people have co-signed these fucking narratives. The common sense ignition of fucking intelligence has somehow been sucked out of their template, man. Not turning around and fighting this shit.
That's right.
Facing this shit the fuck head on. It's a complete and total violation of cosmic law. And it's a denial of your birthrights in terms of your actual soul.
Denial of reality.
No, this is what it all boils down to. This is what happened in terms of ancient times when thought betrayed proper knowledge and wisdom, led the person into the position to betray their very fucking soul. Now, those of us that know the fucking difference, there's the rise and fall of empires. There's the rise and fall of individuals' lives. In terms of the aggregate, we have not reached the point of breaching something that has never been done before since what happened did. It keeps hitting that wall, and this is the wall that we have to face, that wall of fear, whether within ourselves or with one another. And this is why I really gravitated towards the really heavy music all my life, because of how raw and real it fucking is, man.
As an addendum to what you just said, this mindset of not turning and confronting the enemy, not turning and confronting the problems within the self, it's a complete denial of reality and a fabrication of reality and what is. You don't just ignore the illness. Take measures and take steps to figure out, make a diagnosis about what's going wrong, and then correct it from a causal level to bring the body, bring it back into homeostasis and balance. If you don't do that and you just ignore it, it doesn't improve and get better. It gets worse progressively. Right. That's what ignoring reality creates. And that's what the runaways do. By not confronting first principles, by not confronting all of the immorality in the world, by not making that the very first thing that they address and vet people that they're going to bring into any group dynamic about, they are ensuring failure from inception. They're ensuring failure from Jump Street because they're not doing that internal work first based upon first principles and objective morality. And then they're trying to jump into externalized tasks, externalized endeavors and joint group tasks for some goal or purpose that is always going to be plagued by them not being congruent and on the same page in consciousness about morality and first principles, which is always going to lead to failure, a total breakup of that group dynamic as far as cohesiveness and actual movement forward of their stated goals. One of the other groups that I want to bring up, I see them as part of the runaway group, and it's people who say all cities should immediately be abandoned and we need to move out to the most remote countryside imaginable. I don't knock people for wanting to live in the countryside. Wonderful. If you want more connection with nature, more space.
Right. Here's what's going to happen in terms of that. They're going to bring their bullshit psychological fucking hangups wherever the fuck they go because they always dealt with it where the fuck they are.
That's exactly correct. It's about dealing with the things that you need to deal with in your own space and in your own environment and not trying to run away from them or externalizing power. Right. You have to step into your power. You have to stand and fight in that space and hold that space, period. It's not about physical fighting necessarily. It's about coming into the truth and then helping to spread that truth in your own environment. And most people aren't doing that. They are externalizing it, and they're running away from that responsibility to teach objective morality, to learn it first and make no bones about what it is, and saying we must unite over this. These are first principles. There is a truth regarding this, and we can't move forward. We are not going to build the new until we unite over these principles first. Otherwise, the same destructive cycle happens over and over and over again.
The repeat of the repeat, man. Even if you got land, even if you broke away, that bullshit in terms of reality and what the fuck is really going on is going to plague your fucking community on an unconscious level. We need to become beasts that are more fucking terrifying in alignment with a true code that we live by and doing work before this can come together on the fucking level. I'm in a really good position where I'm at. I'm not fucking around. And instead of fucking point shift and fucking blame and gaslight and be a fucking pathetic, malignant, fucking narcissistic piece of fucking shit, where over here someone is legitimately working to do something great in the fucking world to make not only their lives fucking better, but inspire and spark that ignition with another
people. Imagine wanting to sit back from afar and watch people in another geographical vicinity suffer and say, well, at least that's not me. Who gives a shit what's happening to them?
In this horrific pool of fucking blood and suffering, all of us are dealing with that on an unconscious fucking level, and you are in fear. You haven't applied these arts and sciences to your life, let alone cosmic law. If you do that, I'm telling you, if you apply it to your life like I have, I can see cosmic law in operation every fucking goddamn millisecond in my fucking life, man. It's so fucking mind-blowing, Mark.
When you step into that responsibility, you can stay wherever you are. You're a beacon of light for others. Teach from where you're at. Improve your community from where you are at. It's not about running out and forming some out in the wilderness type of community. What makes people think that they're going to find refuge and safety in that? You don't think that the psychopaths of the world, you don't think that the sick lunatics that want to control everything are going to hunt you down and are going to send henchmen after you because you didn't deal with the whole idea of authority, with the whole idea of order following, with the whole idea of the immorality of all of that? They will drone bomb you. They will have their order followers fly unmanned drones to bomb
weapons, you. Man, they can zero in on your wiring and throw thoughts into the field, and to the point of an extreme feedback loop that's going to drive you mentally fucking insane.
And it will work if you don't have the psychic shielding and ability and in consciousness to protect yourself from something like that, because you've worked upon consciousness.
This war is fucking real.
They believe that they're going to be left alone. You're never going to be left alone. Your problem will follow you. Your trauma will follow you. You won't just be followed physically. You'll be followed psychically.
It's not them, man.
Right.
That's what they want to keep everybody in, a trauma-based mind control, so that they're more easily controllable. Run from reality. They run from their goddamn fucking responsibility.
The second movie that I think really brilliantly illustrated this, Matrix Resurrections, it's profound. If it's decoded properly, you have to decode the allegory. And if you understand it properly, it should be like a bomb going off in the brain. That's how much of an aha moment.
No, again, they let you fucking know.
That's right. Some will say it's predictive programming. I'd call it highly conscious allegorical filmmaking is really what it is.
It's about how people approach in terms of their perception. Obviously, you and I are more advanced in terms of how we gauge things because we know how things actually fucking work. We can see this fucking shit like you're talking about.
It's clearly coming from someone with occult knowledge, whether it is firsthand or whether it's been received from others. And it's been converted and encoded into an allegorical film, obviously. But the power of the allegory, once decoded, is absolutely groundbreaking and inspiring. When you watch Matrix 4, it is about the overarching aspect of the film is heroes have to be reawakened, and they represent emotion and action. Thought does not really truly have to be reawakened. It's still there. The thought character is Morpheus. It represents knowledge, and that's not missing. That's there, and it's been there. The knowledge is still present. What's missing is true care. That's Trinity. And she is the one who's in the deepest illusion of the Matrix. The whole goal of the main protagonist is to reawaken care at a higher level so that it can reignite right action, who Neo represents. But here's the thing. In their encounters with different people in this film, the protagonists come to a city called Io, and Captain Niobe from the original trilogy is now General Niobe, and she is basically one of the leaders and the decision makers of the city called Io. She is ignoring the mind control of the Matrix over people's bodies, trying to remain hidden in the hidden city of Io, representing escapism, representing running out to the wilderness and hiding. And the other protagonists of the film actually confront her and saying, you're not even really a general in this war anymore. You're more concerned with growing your strawberries in your hydroponics bay than you are in freeing people's minds from the evil Matrix control system. What have you become? She's become an escapist. She represents, and Io in general represents escapism. Now, Io is a great allegory because it means in, out in computer language. And that means simply connectivity. When you talk about I/O in technology, in computing, it means how can you connect and send and receive data? When you talk about the I/O that's on a computer, which is what the city where Niobe is the leader of, I/O means connectivity, okay? And it's about reestablishing connection to the true purpose. I/O has been disconnected. Their connectivity is shot. It's gone because the people there are more worried about escaping, staying safe, staying in their little hidden pocket of existence and growing their strawberries than they are about freeing minds from the Matrix so that humanity can actually become free. Why did people miss it the first time they watched the movie? Because they're not educated in these principles. They're not seeing it from that perspective. When a true occult student sees that movie, he's blasted in the face immediately and is like, yeah, absolutely. Look, they're telling the story right here. They're telling you one of the most profound messages ever told to people in film. It's an alchemical process, this film. It's telling you can't be a runaway. It's telling you you're not going to go out to the woods and survive. It's about freeing minds. It's about getting your thoughts right. It's about being in alignment with truth. It's about being in alignment with objective morality. It's about learning how to think. It's about not being deceived. It's about helping other people not be deceived. That's what the great work is to do.
And you're not bringing your slave state of mind into the goddamn fucking situation.
Exactly.
You can break away society all you want, but eventually you're going to get a motherfucker like that. He's going to come in and tear everything to fucking shreds.
That's it.
I've seen it fucking happen. And empires, kingdoms are not destroyed from the outside in. They're always destroyed from the inside out.
Of course.
And if you don't know how to gauge your own inner fucking temple, psyche, and control your thought and emotion, and the importance of being in the position as someone that holds a template for truth, I don't get how people that even look into these matters aren't obsessed with wanting to let other people fucking know what the hell is really going on.
That's right.
You are the cause point for truth while the world is going the fuck down. It's worse than it's ever been. The New Age movement, religion, all this fucking bullshit has done nothing to serve mankind.
That's right.
At all.
Imagine, Seth, because these people not only consider themselves spiritual, they're ascending, quote unquote.
Yeah.
They're not even legitimate men and legitimate women.
Right.
Let's just say it out plainly how it really is in the real world. These aren't men. They're little boys running away from a problem.
Right.
These aren't women. They're little girls running away from a problem. Real men and women turn and confront the enemy and say, this is wrong. I have more self-respect than this. I'm not going to tolerate this. I'm not going to take it. I'm going to teach other people that it's wrong. We're going to all stand against you on one unified accord under first principles. We're going to fight you. That's spiritual. That's what a process of ascension would really look like. It wouldn't look like people running away to try to go and somehow escape the problem. Right. There's no such thing. Or
running off to another fucking world or universe or fucking planet. True ascension happens here.
That's right.
On ground level. Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Stop lying to yourself. Stop dreaming. Learn how to think. Live in the present moment and activate the physical body. All of those 5 principles for true initiation and true awakening have to be unified within each one of us. I think for manifestation, this one went really well, and I'm very glad that you invited me on to talk about these topics.
Excellent. I want to thank you for coming on. Everybody go check out One Great Work Network. Both Mark and I are on there. Check out One Earth is happening. Get a hold of us directly because everything that's unfolding is going to lead to manifesting the right way in terms of how things actually work. That was a very powerful conversation, unlike any other conversation I think that's been presented, let alone with Mark Passio. The things that we got into were very, very important in terms of the progression rates that needs to unfold in alignment. For those of you that are interested in the Mystery School, check out the website at blackearthproductions.com. Hit me up for the full rights initiation at blackearthproductions@hotmail.com. And it's to note that everything in terms of the products page is still available, including the Nectar of Athanasia. We are the only ones on Earth that have this. We are the first ones to release it into the reality field. On discount, in terms of credentials, with Mystery School also gives you full access to the Black Earth Library, unlike any other occult library on the face of the entire Earth. Things are expanding, things are growing. To wrap things up here, I'm going to say it again. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I think whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloodied, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gates, how charged the punishments, the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. This is Septicus Boza, Black Earth Productions, Blue Flame, Healing Odds and Occult Science, Temple of the White Dragon. I definitely look forward to speaking with you soon.
Face to face with my enemy. What can I do? What should I say? State my case or live in disgrace, and forever hang my head in shame. State to state,